You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Security Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. The goals of risk reporting extend beyond simply compiling data. They exist to inform decision-makers, prioritize investments, and enable timely escalation. A well-crafted report distills complex technical findings into actionable insight, giving leadership the clarity needed to allocate resources wisely. Without effective reporting, risks may remain hidden in technical silos, preventing executives from seeing the full picture. For example, a risk report might highlight that critical patching levels have dropped below acceptable thresholds, framing it as both a security and business continuity issue. By making risks visible and digestible, reports empower leaders to take informed action rather than reacting to surprises. Audience segmentation is a key principle in risk communication. Different stakeholders require different levels of detail, and providing the wrong level can overwhelm or underinform them. Boards and executives generally need high-level summaries that link risk to business impact, such as financial loss or reputational harm. Operational owners require detailed technical breakdowns so they know what tasks to perform. Auditors need evidence trails and compliance checks. A single report that tries to serve all audiences often fails. Tailoring content ensures each group receives information in a format they can understand and act upon effectively, avoiding wasted effort or confusion. Risk reports can take many forms, each suited to specific needs. Dashboards provide at-a-glance views of overall risk posture, highlighting metrics like patch compliance or residual risk trends. Heat maps are popular for plotting likelihood against impact, helping decision-makers see which risks fall into red zones. Incident summaries capture lessons from specific events, while deep-dive risk analyses explore systemic issues in detail. No single report format suffices for all situations. Organizations typically maintain a suite of report types, selecting the right one for the right audience. This flexibility ensures risk information flows smoothly across all levels of governance. Visuals play a critical role in translating technical risk into business terms. Heat maps simplify prioritization by making it obvious which risks matter most. Trend lines show whether risk levels are improving or worsening, while leaderboards highlight the top risks in ranked order. For example, a chart showing the percentage of critical systems patched over the past 6 months immediately conveys progress or decline without requiring lengthy explanations. Effective visuals bridge the gap between technical teams and executives, transforming complex data into accessible insights. When leaders can see the risks, they are far more likely to understand and act on them. At the same time, reporting must balance transparency with the risk of operational noise. Providing leaders with endless technical detail may bury the signal in noise, leading to decision fatigue. Conversely, withholding too much can create blind spots. The solution lies in filtering information so that only meaningful, actionable risks rise to executive attention. For instance, executives do not need a list of every malware detection. They need to know if overall infection trends are rising and whether they threaten business operations. By curating content carefully, risk reporting achieves clarity without sacrificing transparency. Frequency and cadence of reports should reflect both audience needs and risk volatility. Operational teams may require daily updates on critical thresholds, while executives often benefit from monthly or quarterly summaries that show broader patterns. Weekly reporting may strike the right balance for department heads managing remediation tasks. Cadence also sets expectations. If executives know to expect a monthly brief, they can plan time for review and discussion. Over-reporting risks desensitizing audiences, while under-reporting may leave them uninformed. Setting the right rhythm ensures stakeholders receive timely information without overload. A minimum content set provides consistency across risk reports. At the very least, each report should identify the top risks currently facing the organization, highlight any threshold breaches, summarize remediation progress, and specify decisions that require executive input. For example, a monthly executive brief might list the 5 highest risks, note that patching thresholds were breached in 2 departments, show that 80% of remediation steps are on track, and request approval for funding additional staff. This standardized approach ensures every report delivers value, even if formats vary, and avoids gaps where important details might be overlooked. Narrative framing transforms a risk report from a static document into a compelling story. Reports should not only present current numbers but also explain the trend, root causes, and recommended executive actions. For example, rather than stating, quote, "phishing attacks increased 20%, the report might explain that attacks spiked due to a new campaign, identify lack of user awareness as a root cause, and recommend additional training." By structuring reports as stories with context and proposed solutions, risk managers make it easier for executives to engage, understand, and decide. Storytelling turns raw data into strategic insight. Escalation triggers ensure that urgent risks generate reports outside of normal cycles. If a threshold breach occurs, for example, more than 10% of critical servers go unpatched, an ad hoc report should immediately inform relevant leaders. Waiting until the next scheduled report risks delaying corrective action. These triggers convert monitoring into governance, ensuring that when appetite or tolerance is exceeded, decision-makers are alerted quickly. Escalation reporting also builds trust, as leaders know they will not be blindsided by critical events that were detected but never communicated in time to act. Evidence-based reporting is vital for credibility. Claims must be supported by hard data from KRIs, incident records, or control test results. For example, if a report states that patch compliance has improved, it should show metrics from vulnerability scans or system inventories. Evidence prevents reports from becoming subjective interpretations and provides a foundation for decision-making. Leaders are more likely to invest in remediation if they see proof that issues are real, measurable, and documented. Evidence transforms reports from opinions into authoritative sources that can withstand scrutiny from auditors and regulators. Confidentiality and distribution controls must be applied to risk reports, since they often contain sensitive information about vulnerabilities, incidents, or organizational weaknesses. Not every audience should have access to the same details. For example, a high-level board summary may omit technical vulnerabilities that could aid attackers if leaked. Reports may also need access controls, encryption, or limited distribution lists to ensure sensitive findings are not shared inappropriately. By managing confidentiality carefully, organizations strike a balance between transparency for decision-makers and protection against misuse of the information. A practical action exercise helps learners apply these concepts. Imagine building a 1-page monthly risk brief for an executive team. The brief might list the top 5 risks, each with a 1-line status update, such as critical patch compliance fell to 88%, remediation underway. A simple trend chart could show whether residual risk is rising or falling across the past 6 months. Finally, the brief should highlight decisions needed, such as funding approval for new monitoring tools. This compact format ensures leaders receive high-value information at a glance, supported by data and framed with clear action items. Exercises like this highlight that the power of risk reporting lies in clarity, structure, and actionability. When reports are too long, leaders lose focus. When they are too thin, leaders lack context. The 1-page brief balances both by condensing top risks, key evidence, and decision points into a digestible package. Practicing the creation of such reports helps security professionals refine their communication skills, ensuring they can translate technical findings into executive-level decisions. Over time, this practice builds confidence and trust, strengthening the relationship between technical teams and leadership. By the end of Part 1, it is clear that risk reporting is not about volume, but about impact. Effective reports inform decision-makers, prioritize resources, and escalate urgent issues without drowning stakeholders in noise. They rely on audience-focused segmentation, effective visuals, curated cadence, and evidence-backed claims. With these foundations, Part 2 will explore how to make risk reports story-driven, connect technical details to business consequences, and embed clear action steps so executives can respond quickly and confidently. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Story-driven reporting makes risks more engaging and easier for non-technical audiences to understand. A useful structure follows the sequence of problem, evidence, impact, and recommendation. For example, a report might start with the problem. Patch compliance fell below tolerance levels this month. Next, it presents evidence. Vulnerability scans showed 12% of critical systems missing updates. Then comes the impact. If exploited, this could lead to a ransomware attack disrupting revenue operations for days. Finally, the recommendation. Approve additional patch management staff and automation tools. This story arc transforms raw data into a narrative that compels executives to act. Translating technical metrics into business impact language is equally important. Numbers like CVSS scores or exploit counts may have meaning for security teams, but often fail to resonate with leadership. Instead, risk communicators should frame these in terms of financial cost, reputational damage, or service disruption. For example, this vulnerability has a CVSS score of 9.8, may be less impactful than saying, if left unresolved, this vulnerability could expose customer data and result in fines of up to $2 million. By rephrasing technical risks in business terms, reports connect directly to leaders, decision-making priorities. Scenario examples can also bring risks to life. A hypothetical walkthrough helps non-technical stakeholders grasp the consequences of technical failures. For instance, a report might describe, if attackers exploit this unpatched flaw, they could disable our online ordering system for 3 days. This would cost an estimated $500,000 in lost revenue and customer trust. Scenarios are not fear tactics, they are teaching tools. They bridge the gap between abstract vulnerabilities and tangible business outcomes, helping executives visualize the real-world consequences of inaction. Well-chosen scenarios strengthen understanding and urgency around risks. It is also vital to present confidence levels and assumptions alongside each risk. Risk assessments rarely have perfect information, so transparency is key. For example, a report might note, we estimate a medium likelihood of phishing success based on past trends, but this assumes current training levels remain unchanged. Confidence scores help avoid overstating certainty while still guiding action. By highlighting assumptions and confidence, reports build trust with leadership, who can see both the evidence and its limitations. This honesty prevents surprises and fosters more informed, nuanced decisions. Audit and compliance findings should be integrated into risk reporting. These findings often reveal gaps in control effectiveness or areas of non-compliance with regulations. By weaving them into reports, organizations demonstrate accountability and progress. For instance, a quarterly report might show that a prior audit identified weak vendor controls, and the current update highlights that 70% of required remediations are complete. Integrating these findings not only provides context but also reassures leaders and regulators that risks are being systematically tracked and addressed, rather than left as isolated compliance issues. Effective reporting is a two-way communication channel, not just a one-way data dump. Decision logs can capture executive responses to reported risks, ensuring accountability. Reports should also highlight required responses and follow-up items. For example, a brief might include a line stating, executive decision needed. Approve $250,000 for expanded security monitoring. This ensures reports are not simply informative but also action-oriented. Follow-ups can then be tracked in subsequent reports, closing the loop and reinforcing accountability across both technical and business stakeholders. Dashboards offer another powerful tool, especially when they allow drill-down capability. Executives may see a high-level metric like, quote, overall residual risk increased by 5%, but they or their advisors should be able to click into details showing which systems or processes drove the change. This combination of overview and evidence enables rapid validation of results. Drill-down features also build credibility, as stakeholders know that behind every high-level chart lies traceable, verifiable data. The ability to move from big picture to granular detail strengthens trust and makes dashboards indispensable tools for governance. Executives also need training to interpret risk reports effectively. Many leaders come from business, finance, or operations backgrounds and may not be comfortable with technical concepts. Training helps them learn what questions to ask, such as, what controls are in place? How do we compare to peers? What resources are needed to remediate this? Educating executives ensures they can engage with reports critically rather than passively accepting them. This not only improves decision quality, but also builds stronger collaboration between security teams and leadership. A trained leadership team becomes an informed partner in managing risk. Embedding explicit action items in reports is essential for driving change. Reports should clearly state what is being requested, whether it is funding for tools, approval of a policy change, or granting an exception. For example, a report might close with, "Action requested. Approve the hiring of 2 patch engineers to bring compliance back within tolerance." Explicit asks remove ambiguity and prompt faster responses. Without them, risk reports risk becoming purely informational, leaving executives unsure of what decisions they need to make. Embedding actions transforms reports into decision enablers. Documenting decisions in action items from risk briefings completes the feedback loop. This means not only noting what was decided, but also tracking implementation progress. For example, if leadership approved new staffing, future reports should confirm whether those positions were filled and whether patching performance improved. Documenting decisions ensures accountability and continuity. It prevents risks from being revisited endlessly and creates a clear record for auditors and regulators. Over time, these documented trails provide valuable evidence of governance maturity and the organization's ability to manage risk systematically. In some cases, organizations must produce regulatory-ready reporting packages. These packages require thorough documentation of evidence, timelines, and communication records. For example, regulators investigating a data breach may require proof of when vulnerabilities were identified, what thresholds were crossed, and how leadership was informed. Preparing such packages proactively ensures the organization is not scrambling during audits or investigations. A regulatory-ready mindset makes reporting processes more disciplined and provides assurance to external stakeholders that risks are being managed transparently and in compliance with laws and standards. At its core, powerful risk reporting is concise, evidence-backed, and action-oriented. It avoids unnecessary detail while still providing transparency, translates technical findings into business impact, and embeds clear requests for decisions. The most effective reports evolve based on executive feedback, continuously refining their clarity and usefulness. For practice, learners can draft a one-page brief and refine it over time, testing which visuals, narratives, and action requests resonate most with their leadership. By iterating and improving, risk reporting becomes not just a compliance exercise, but a strategic asset that drives better security outcomes. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.